for digital transformation, leading through changes, and driving sustainability, and fostering a culture of innovation. And for that, we are privileged to welcome to the stage Mr. Guo Feng, Chairman and CEO at Chicilon Media Vietnam. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Marc, Managing Director at Google Vietnam. Please welcome to the stage Mr. Anil Viswanathan, Managing Director at Mondelez Vietnam. And moderating this discussion is Mr. Rohit Dadwal, CEO of MMA Global Asia Pacific and Global Head of SMARTIES Worldwide. And please join me in welcoming.
Okay. Okay, let's get the show started. So those were a couple of very insightful presentations. And I've been told by the team that we are running a little bit behind schedule. So we want to get this started as quickly as possible. But before I do that, a quick introduction by my panelists. Marc, would you like to kick us off? A quick introduction.
Hi, my name is Marc. Thanks for having me here. I'm the Managing Director of Google Vietnam, now based in Ho Chi Minh City.
And you love it here?
I love it. No looking back.
Great. Anil, you've already heard from. He's the Managing Director of Mondelez in Vietnam. Mr. Gu, would you like to do your introduction? Introduction.
大家好，今天有幸坐在这里和大家分享一些信息。
Hello everyone, it's my honor today to be here with you guys.
Great. So, the topic that we are talking about, thank you. The topic we are talking about today is navigating organizational transformation in the age of digital. It's not necessarily digital transformation. We are talking about organizational transformation. Let me set the context for some of you. About 10 years back, or 12 years back, in a marketing organization, for example, there was no role called the CDO role, Chief Digital Officer. That role came into being when maybe 10, 20, 25% of the budgets started moving to digital. Now with 80, 90% of budgets being on digital, what does that role look like? What does the role of a CMO look like? So what's the organization transformation that's going to happen in days to come? Pegged at the base of digital with AI, generative, predictive, everything that's going to happen, but also the reality about the world, the changing world. Also, Anil also spoke about the uncertainty that comes with it. We are in the mix of uncertainty thanks to the man in the golden hair. But that's not just it. There's a lot more that's happening around it, and it will continue to happen. The world is changing at a much faster pace. So all the transformation that we are going through, how does that aid into our success in days to come? What do we do, and how do we navigate some of that? So let me kick off the discussion with Marc, with you. What does transformation really mean for an organization like Google, but more so for all the partners that you work with, who you enable to fulfill their marketing objectives? What does transformation really mean to you guys?
I think it boils down to, so if I think about transformation, right, it is a constant that is needed in organizations. Because as you mentioned, there's always like the swirl that's happening, whether it's driven by the man with the golden hair, or external factors, or the technological revolution, right? So just want to set the context. It's always there. The only thing constant in life is change. So transformation is in a way, it's always needed, right? And to us, the way we think about it is survivability in the next 20, 30 years. What got us here wouldn't get us to where we want to be, like 10, 20 years down the road. So the way we approach transformation is, I think, it's a balance between driving the needs of the business now, revenue in quarter, revenue for the year, as well as where we want to go to, the pivot to in years to come. So 8 years ago, 2017, 2016, we made a bold commitment to become an AI-first company. There was no data, there's no historical data, there is no case studies for us to learn from back then. But we realized that we made progress with Google Brain, we made progress with neural networks, and we were just scratching the surface then. I feel that we're still scratching the surface now. So for us to make that bold commitment to become an AI-first company and do what it takes to get there, and we're making significant progress, I think that's really important. Now, how does it impact our partners, our customers, from the user platforms, as well as the advertising cloud platforms, right, is embedding a lot of the AI solutions, large language models, Gen AI, the APIs, and so on and so forth, to a lot of products that we bring to the market. And like I said, we're still in the early stages. There's a lot more to come. Almost every single week, we see a new launch, not just by us, but by other AI players or tech players. So it's really, really exciting, but it's a constant that we need to sort of dedicate, commit, and then eventually execute as much as possible.
Anil, I'll come to you based on this and the presentation you spoke about, understanding the consumer. So how do you, in this ongoing transformation and the digital era and everything else that goes on, how do you basically manage the short-term revenue goal versus the long-term investment for innovation? As a CEO of the business, I know you spoke about your data, Mondelez data plans for the last 5 years and the way you're looking at. But how does it really translates into action? Short-term revenue versus long-term investment.
I think, yeah, I mean, good point, Rohit. I think in this scenario where you know that you need to invest for the future while also keep an eye out on the short term, it's that balance, right? I mean, given a choice, we would always focus to ensure that we have a short term secure, and then say, okay, let's try and keep some whatever on top for the future. But I think the two important things is, one is the fact that this needs to be driven top down. So it has to be a very clear vision from the leadership to say, we are clear that this is an imperative for the future. So that's the first step, which is a clear direction from the top. The board, the global leadership, cascading down to people like us who are leading our businesses, that this is an important imperative. So that's one, setting the imperative. And towards that, I think one of the things that enabled us, I mean, from a tech perspective, you know how the thought leaders have operated. For us, from a CPG perspective, what was important is to say, rather than think 1 year, 2 year out, we took what is called a future back approach. Future back is something that's kind of almost now coined as something that Microsoft started, and now we all have kind of the same approach, right? So the moment you say take a future back, you look at 2030 and work backwards. Then that allows you to understand that by 2030 things would have changed so much that if you take incremental steps, then we will possibly be missing out by the time we get to 2030. So that's the second step. So one is set the direction. Second is look towards the future and then articulate, in order to get there, what do I need to do tomorrow, rather than look at tomorrow from today, which is then you look at it only from an incremental standpoint. The third thing is modify the organizational incentive structures to ensure that there is focus on the future. So that's the third element, which is to say that a significant part of incentives that we will earn from a leadership standpoint will depend on how we shape the future and not just how we deliver the short term. So that's the third part. And then I guess the moment you incentivize and set the imperative, then automatically you're creating a space to say we have to make those choices. So set the framework and set the context from the top that ensures that there is emphasis, and then there is hard choices that we need to make because it's a deliverable for us. So that's the way we've looked at it in terms of balancing the short and the long. Otherwise, given the current context, the prioritization will always be on the short.
Short term.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Mr. Gu, I'll come to you next. Business prioritization, right? And investments. And you lead a business as the CEO chairman of Chicilon, which has traditionally not been a very digital savvy approach from a marketing perspective. So share with us one bold decision you took to make the digital leap for your business, and how does that help the brands and the consumers?
我先补上我的介绍啊。
I want to introduce again myself.
我是千禧龙传媒的创始人，
I am
董事长。
Chicilon's CEO,
郭志峰先生。
Guo Feng.
刚才这个Rohit 问的这个问题很好。
So Mr. Rohit just asked me a very exciting question.
作为千禧龙传媒关注的，就是广告客户关心什么。
So I think what the customer concerned the most is what their target customers most concerned about.
所以，针对目前数字化转型，我们也采取了一些措施。
So recently we also have made a very aggressive expansion in the digital transform.
让广告人知道投放了广告以后，钱花在了哪里。
So what is the advertisement budget mostly focus on?
花了的效果怎么样？
And what is the budget's effectiveness?
实际在保证效果的前提下，首先对我们整个网络要运营，就是要正常、安全、持续、稳定的运营。
So we have to sustain the effectiveness of the advertisement in all the social media networks.
所以在这个环节，我们已经改进了一些技术。
So in this area, we already have some technology.
整个就是系统化管理硬件，
So systematically management
然后系统化投放。
and also systematically photos.
这是一个就是保证大家花了钱，设备的正常稳定的运营。
So we can ensure that customers' budget is effectively used.
第二一个
And secondly,
就是我们的整个的技术和4G 整个打通，链接了4G， 链接了 4G。
we also focus on the 4G technology.
链接了 4G， 而且每一台设备安装了感应器，可以安装了感应器，谁看了设备，看到广告覆盖了多少人。
And also our device can also see how many people, how many customers have seen the advertisements.
男的比例男的多少，覆盖了多少人，覆盖了多少楼宇。
And we can see also our target customers like males or females and how many people have seen the advertisements.
而且人的性别、年龄，
Also customers' age and customers' gender.
通过借助 AC 尼尔森 TNS 的程序，看到了多少广告，覆盖了多少人次。
We use the technological app and to see and analyze the customers.
It's interesting. The amount of technology innovation and now going forward aided with AI, if you can actually start to see who your customer is, reminds me of the movie long time back when you have somebody going past a screen and it recognizes and serves the ad. But those are interesting. That was a very interesting insight of how you are transforming the business. Anil, let me come to you. How do you make that decision when you have the global and regional and then market landscapes? How do you make sure that the innovation and the decision of innovation is not just resting in the boardroom, but it translates into transformation? How do you do that?
I think the way to do that, again, I'd like possibly give two perspectives. I think the first perspective is to ensure that there is a dedicated investment towards creating a team that is resourced to drive that transformation. So one is to say that rather than treating this as an additional responsibility or the evening job of a person who has a different day job, you would then realize that you're not achieving your transformation objectives. So one is to clearly mark out and create a team, resource that team adequately enough to drive that transformation agenda. So you have to put your bets on saying that, okay, if it's an important initiative, I'm going to resource. So that's the first point, to have the right resourcing. And the second thing is to ensure that there is sponsorship directly from the top. So we steer it right from myself. So it's not delegated, it's a priority that I am driving to ensure that hence that transformation team works directly with my empowerment so that they have the speed and the empowerment to drive that change without having to, the red tape of the day-to-day business, which then is focused on it. So it does two things. One is it ensures that the transformation happens, and the second is that the day-to-day business doesn't suffer. Because otherwise, if you were to do both, then you always have the challenge of, somebody doing a bad job of both. So that's the way to think about driving that and not keeping it at the center. I think, as I told you earlier, we have a very clear objective setting that happens. So then to be able to cascade those objectives down to the team and having clear measurable outcomes is so that you're able to measure progress against that transformation. So those are three things, the way we are trying to do it.
Marc, especially in your case, you've moved here recently. Google set up an office as early as July of last year. There's this right balance between consumer short-term, long-term. But in your case, it's also the balance between the ecosystem, which you guys are driving. So how do you balance that organizational structure and hold that responsibility to educate the ecosystem on that organization structuring, but more importantly, transforming them along with you, because your existence is theirs and theirs is yours. So it's a balanced equation. How do you manage that transformation? And with the responsibility of you being in the country now, there's also bureaucracy, government relations. There's a lot that needs to be done. How does transformation happen in that case?
So, I think we live in this ecosystem where it's very intertwined. We need each other. Just now I was outside with Venus, and we were talking about friends and enemies, but I don't think it's really the case because it's, I mentioned it, Venus. I don't think it's really the case because it's one big community and we're gearing towards a common goal. I think a lot of that we do, we can translate to the partners and ecosystem. I'll give you one example. So a large part of my focus is working with developers. And the nature of the developers, particularly the gaming developers and the app developers that are very centered in Hanoi and Da Nang, they are very entrepreneurial and they are very fast moving. In fact, so much so that there's a huge community, right? A lot of the games and apps that they produce globally is being downloaded the most, top 3 globally, right? So Vietnam is punching above its weight. But there are some characteristics where they are faced with and they can't progress up the value chain. For example, they produce a lot of what we call casual games, right? Puzzle games, very simple to play games that don't generate like high ARPU. Number two is they rely a lot on advertising within the app. And then number three is they tend to follow a trend as opposed to become an innovator. So that's the nature of that developer ecosystem. What can we do, right? Beyond just selling ads and selling cloud solutions or helping them like monetize on play. So we got together. So as an organization within ourselves, because we are a large company and we have like all these different functions. So the first step that we did was we come together and we identified a true north. So how do we grow this entire ecosystem from X billion to Y billion? So that's really exciting within 3 years. And then we got together as a cross-functional team to then identify like the 3 big bets that we want to help the ecosystem sort of like change. So number 1 is improve on quality gameplay. Number 2 is a more hybrid monetization model. And number 3 is thinking about different genres, right? And we translated that into the top developers, and they then sort of like cascade it to the community because the community is very tight here in Vietnam. So that's one example of how we come together first, and then we identify like the 3 big problems and solve it for the long term.
Mr. Gu, let me come to you from a long-term perspective. It's always a challenge managing investments for short-term gains versus long-term. So how do you measure success on a day-to-day business when you have to own and run a P&L?
Thank you so much for your very exciting question.
怎么运营呢？一个在运营过程中，我想作为一个 CEO， 首先能知道你这个项目是为谁服务的。
So first, we have to determine what our project's customer, the target customer is.
再一个就是你服务的对象他在关心什么。
Your target customer, what they are concerned about.
那他关心的问题，你能解决了吗？
And can you solve the concerns, the concerns of your customers?
有的是能解决的，有的是解决不了的，你怎么办？
There are some problems you can solve and some you cannot. Then what should you do?
所以千禧龙船就作为我就非常清晰这个问题，整个千禧龙的运营团队也是非常清晰这个问题。
So I think for me and even and also for my team, I think this is a very interesting problem.
为了解决我们的客户服务的对象关心的问题，把我们的短板，我们就找第三方合作、战略合作关系来解决这个痛点。你明白吗？就是把我们知道了我们的客户的关心的问题，我们有解决的，有解决不了的。我们解决不了的，我们就找像谷歌这样的技术战略合作这样的公司来战略合作。第三方来战略合作。
So for the problems that we cannot solve for our customers, we will find the third-party company to cooperate with us and together find the problems and solve the problems for our customers.
我们自己能解决了的，当然我们也有自己的技术团队。
We also have our own technological team.
你想到这本月底就推出来的。客户就可以自己打出自己的 投放广告效果报告来。
And in the north of Vietnam, we have the team that have the technology to run the advertisement ourselves.
我们就是协助第三方，就是由我们第三方的战略合作伙伴关系开发的。
And we are also using the technology that our third-party partner are developing.
让客户投放了，你随时可以看你的广告效果。
And when our customers find us to help them run the advertisement, they can real time see the effectiveness and the results of their advertisement.
那5月份推出的数字人，人是数字做的，数字人 ，digital people 数字人。你翻译，5月份要推出的数字人，钱锡龙要推出来的数字人技术。
So we also have to public to the technological advertisements.
我们也是投资的第三方技术公司来进行研发的。我们也是由第三方技术投资的，我们投资第三方技术公司进行研发的。
And we also invest to our third-party partner to find and implement new technology.
5月份就推出了数字人，这数字人可以帮企业搞营销，搞视频矩阵营销。
And we also, with this technology, we can also have the videos advertisements.
所以作为一个 CEO， 你应该知道做什么，怎么做。
So as being a CEO, you yourself need to know what you need to do and what you should do.
Okay, so to build on that, as the CEO, you need to know what you need to do and build. I know we are almost running out of time. Marc, let me come to you. What's that one piece of advice, very briefly, you would give to the people in the room, based on what we've heard right now, all the participation, engagement, the industry coming together. As much as we would like to see organization transformation, I think it's also an industry transformation. It takes a village to move. So what would your advice be to people in the room of what should they be looking at?
I don't think we're in a position to give any advice. Okay. Because we're still going through the transformation, right? And I would say, like, at least for us, we are the system that we use, and it's it's standing the test of time. That is to be uncomfortably excited about the future, uncomfortably excited about a lot of things that we do, and just constantly think about where the puck is going to be, as opposed to what's in front of us at the moment.
Anil, same question.
I think I wouldn't say advice, again, I mean, building on what Marc is saying, a reflection, is that we don't treat transformation, talk about transformation in the third person, or expect that there's a team that's going to come and deploy it, or think of transformation as something, as you mentioned in your opening, that it's digital transformation, is something that somebody else is going to come and do.
Yeah.
I think the acknowledgement is that all of us need to embrace it, and all of us need to start. We heard Marc say they started the journey 10 years back. I think we're all assuming that there was somebody else's problem. No, I mean, all of us have to embrace it. We have to lead it and we have to learn. So we need to show the agility that we have to learn and be part of the change and not expect that somebody else is driving this transformation. And if you don't do that, then we will become irrelevant. So I think that's the most important reflection for all of us.
Mr. Gu, in one sentence, what would you advise?
一句话就是，做 CEO 要知道自己干什么，该干什么，怎么干。
So in just one sentence, I will say, as being a CEO, you should know what you should do and how you do it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Marc, Anil, and Mr. Gu.
And
Do you need to add something? I think there's a loss in translation.
我觉着，就是大家刚才也了解了千禧龙传媒这次技术的创新。
so I just understand about the real technological transform.
希望通过刚才我的介绍以及这个会议后，能更加的了解千禧龙传媒。
So I hope that after this events, I can get to know more about the digital transformation.
也通过这次 CEO 和 CMO 的论坛，真的能知道作为一个 CEO 该做什么，知道怎么做。
So in the end, I would like to say that after this CEO and CMO events, being a CEO, you should know that what you need to do and how to do it.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for our panelists. Thank you so much for giving us useful information, and we hope that you all find the answers to your questions within that conversations. Once again, thank you so much, sirs. Thank you.